Hey there, welcome to the table. So there's a lot of Baldur's Gate 3 videos out there, but there's none that do this. So what this is kicking off is it's a single class challenge, which basically means that in Tactician mode, beat the game using a single class. So a party of four with a single class. So four fighters, four barbarians, four rangers, four wizards, whatever. And so that's the challenge before us. And with that challenge, every party usually needs the ability to steal, the ability to heal, the ability to splat, and the ability to chat, right? So you need your chatty character, your damage dealer, your steal, which in this case is sleight of hand, or your ability to heal. And so what I did was I actually played prologue of all 16 classes, and I now have save games for all of them, as you can see here. So so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, oh, I'm sorry, 12 classes that are out there. So let's start with, for example, the Bard. Now the Bard, they cast spells, so you immediately know you have damage dealers, and you know you have healers. So those two are covered. The other thing with the Bard is they also have ability to steal, so steal's covered, and then they have the ability to chat. They're the jack of all trades. They can do everything. So this is the easiest party of four to make. And so what I did here is I tried to use the main origin characters as often as possible. And in this case, it was easy. I just picked 3 that I started the game with, and then I made my 4th. And
let's move.
It's simple enough. So I basically made my original one a College of Lore, and I made them the one that will do both chatting and stealing. So they have sleight of hand, and they also have proficiencies and in their charisma. This is really a super easy party to make.
I wonder what the next move is.
The hardest part, of course, is winning, because none of them have high hit points or high armor. That would be the real challenge with these guys. But in terms of making 4 characters, it's not hard at all. And let's see, I made Shadowheart a Valor Bard, and then we have Swords Bard,
quite ready for
and a Swords Bard. So I went double up on the swords because I feel like I just need to do a lot of damage with these guys, and then Valor also does damage with only one
all right.
real magic caster, and I made that one my true utility bard as well. So that's pretty simple, not too hard to make the bards. The monks make life more interesting. So with the monks, what you don't have is healing. And technically you don't have stealing either. But there's ways to get around it, and I'll show you. You can have stealing with all 12 classes. And here you can see I actually... So what I did was I made a half-orc monk, because I wanted the critical strike capability, and I went with Astarion, Lyzel, and Gale. Now, couple of deficiencies here I just realized. The first one is stealing, which Astarion's going to take care of, and the second one is chatting, which Lyzel's going to take care of. And so this is a trick. These tricks work with all 12 classes. So for Astarion,
Careful, I might.
he has a background of Charlatan, and Charlatan gives him a sleight of hand proficiency even if his class does not. So it's a racial proficiency, and so monks can't normally take sleight of hand, but he can. And so as long as you have Charlatan or Urchin, I think there's one other one as well. Let me think about this. Sorry, I'm clicking. Let's see, Charlatan or Urchin. Yep, those are the only ones. They come with sleight of hand. And sorry for the minimization there. So, so as long as you have that, you can have a monk that will still be able to pick locks. Because that's your thing. You want to be able to pick the locks. It's not as much like the stealth isn't as important. It's the picking the locks that's important. Now, stealth is still covered by this guy because you can see here that he, for a bonus action,
On tippy toes.
can still hide. Not to say that he can't hide regularly, but it's just that it doesn't have proficiency. So, but this guy can go into darkness and have dark vision because I made him the Way of the Shadow. So I made my rogue Way of the Shadow, or my rogue, my stealer, and there is no real healer.
No one stopped me yet.
So obviously I made my critical strike guy open hand,
One with the weave.
and then I made Gale here, 4 elements. So he can at least cast spells, but there are no healing spells that I'm aware of. You're gonna have to rely on potions with these guys, and although
Still breathing.
one of them did
Despite
have
everything.
a healing spell, I thought.
Keep a blade close.
Maybe not.
Action
Maybe I
meets
was
the
wrong.
action.
Maybe it's a different class.
Yeah,
Because you run into this problem with, oh, it was the barbarians. One of them had a healing
What's the
spell.
name?
So yeah, open hand,
A long way from
4 elements.
nudity.
I did open hand again. Now, Lizelle has Astro Knowledge, and if you give her Astro Knowledge Charisma, she then has proficiency in all 4 of the chat skills. So with Lizelle, you can see I made her have 14 Charisma, so she gets a +2. And with her Githyanki ability, she can always cast this, and then she can actually be a really good at managing dialogue for the party.
Still alive. So
With
that's progress.
with our monk, we did a strength dex combo, and always make sure the wisdom's up. And then,
Salutations.
of course, we made the wisdom a lot higher for the spellcaster,
Eager for battle.
and
What a day.
and then for the shadow, we also added some wisdom or strength as well for the tavern brawler type of ability. Okay, so that was the monk. Moving on, like the next one, which was interesting one, was the sorcerer. Not a lot of choices with the sorcerer. I mean, obviously there's 3 subclasses, but you're gonna see the same concept over and over again, where you take somebody with a certain background so you can get the ability to go into stealth. Like, you have to have an urchin if you want stealth and sleight of hand. Otherwise, you at least get the charlatan, which is Astarion. And so anytime you see me use Astarion, it was because I was like, yeah, I just want to be able to pick locks. So here we got 4 sorcerers, and I have a Gold Dwarf, Draconic Bloodline sorcerer. Made sure I focused on Constitution, of course, and that's my number 1. And he's also my chatter, which with sorcerer that's easy because they come with so he took 2 proficiencies, and of course they come with high charisma, so they're all going to be good at chatting. And
Yes?
then we have a storm sorcerer in Gale,
Defender of the
and then
people.
Will is our wild magic, and then I made Astarion our wild magic, but he has high wisdom because
Sharp as ever.
and higher
At the
dexterity.
ready.
You'll see, right?
Don't touch me.
Wisdom and dexterity are higher because we need him to be able to pick locks and have perception to see traps. So that's the sorcerer. Moving on. 4 rogues, pretty easy, but there's no healing. You're gonna have to rely on potions. This was a difficult playthrough. Oh, I should also say, you can't respec classes until level 3. So every one of these saves are at level 3. So up until level 3, you can play it however you like. The challenge really doesn't apply until level 3 kicks in, because you can't respec, certain classes or whatever. Gale can't respec. None of that can happen you can't hire hirelings, and this is an example of using hirelings, which it's more expensive to initially do, but there are some hirelings that are worth getting. So for example, we mentioned the urchin. The only character in the entire game that starts with an urchin background is the human hireling, and it's a rogue, which you're going to see here. At least I think you're going to see here. Oh, I didn't take it. I didn't take the rogue. I made my own, and I made him an urchin. So
keep your distance, darling.
So the big thing with this, and of course there's a graphical glitch here, but so I made a rogue, of course, went with the usual stuff. I went with halfling. For me, I love a halfling rogue because when they roll a 1, which is a critical fail, they automatically re-roll the die. So in order to critically fail with the halfling, you have to roll a 1 twice, which is a super low possibility. And so in this situation, I actually I love the halfling rogues for that reason. But of course, I made him a thief because with him being a halfling, he's not going to be the best in terms of attacking. And then we have Astarion, of course. I made him the trickster, so he's actually going to be casting the spells.
All right.
And then I have a Dweger rogue, which is going to be also a thief. And I think I'm going to be doing, because of the superior dark vision, this will be more of an archer type.
All's well that ends.
And then of course I have our assassin,
could have.
which I made a drow. And I also wanted to, so the whole point of this challenge is I want to try all the subclasses. And of course I want to try all the different races too, especially the ones I don't normally play, and these are two I never play. So anyways, that's why you saw me do that. But remember, the human hireling is the only one that has urchin. So if you want stealth plus the ability to get sleight of hand, the human hireling is a must get. As far as everybody else, it's really, you're just choosing them for the racial bonus. I mean, they do have a, all the different backgrounds are eventually covered. For example, the drow is the criminal. Let's see, what one's the hero? Which ones aren't normally used? Like noble. I don't think the noble's used by any of the origin characters. The half-orc has that one. And the artisan, I believe... Well, the entertainer is taken by the halfling, which is a bard. And the artisan is the high elf, half-elf. So the half-elf... There's 2 half-elves to hire. The first one is a soldier. The high half-elf is an artisan. And then the Dweger is a charlatan. Okay? So... Now, the 4 fighters. This was actually the most difficult prologue to finish. I don't know why. It shouldn't actually be all that bad, but I think it was because I was too busy trying to... I got rid of my cleric and, was trying to... It takes a long time to do the prologue. So in this case, what I did is I made the gold dwarf, and you can see you got my classic strength and constitution, and I made him my chatty, although I think I need to respec him for that reason, because the Lysel is going to be better suited for that. But as you can see, he's got the 2. He's fine. So we don't need to use Lysel this time. And then we have Lysel. I made her a champion.
No time to rest.
He was the battle master.
Oh, action, not
Made her the
reaction.
champion. Of course, we're focusing on great weapons.
Never a
And
dull moment.
he focused on protection. So he's going to be my, just your typical dwarf with a sword and a shield, or a warhammer and a shield.
Eager for battle.
And then we have an Eldritch Knight, which I remember I needed the ability to pick locks. So this is the human hireling, and the human hireling is the urchin that I was telling you about. And I made her the Eldritch Knight, so she's going to be, and as you can see, I made her focus on dexterity and not strength as a fighter. So she's going to use finesse weapons and be more of an archer, and then since I made her the Eldritch Knight, she also focused on intelligence, so her skills shifted to suit her purpose. And then I went with
No one back home will ever
another gold
believe
dwarf,
this.
just because I valued the hit points and made that one a champion as well. So 2 champions. I really like the critical strike, and then this one we're gonna focus on. I focused on making this one a dual 2-weapon. Well, actually, I chose defense, but I'm eventually going to give her the 2-weapon one. My apologies. Next are the 4 barbarians. This one was actually a lot of fun to get set up. The barbarians have some interesting options. Of course, they're just like the fighter. They're limited in healing, a lot more than the fighter, in fact, because the fighter, at least all the fighters start with a healing skill. So I had to go all the way out to get Karlak for this one because I really wanted the origin character to stay as a barbarian, and then because she has a romance with Will, or their best buds, I wanted to make Will a barbarian as well.
Tell me about this place.
So as you can see, first off, half orc, me fight, all damage, all the time, went straight for him. And then Karlak,
Can't give up
I
now.
made him wild magic barbarian.
Come on, let's
And then we have a berserker, which is Karlak. She just seemed like the best for that. And of course, I lost her armor somewhere. Will is a wild heart barbarian, and gave him the speak with animals, and of course he has the charisma, so we kept him with the charisma. He's going to be our chatty person. I could have just as easily made this Lysel and used the Githyanki thing. I chose intentionally not to, just because I wanted a party with these two together.
Still alive. So
And
that's
then
progress.
this is of course the human, again without armor. I played these until I got to the point where I had 4 of them, and then because I had to get to level 3, and then I quit. I mean, this was over 20 to 30 hours to get this, what you're seeing, set up. So it's a little bit of a madness, secret laboratory thing going on here. But anyways, the human is going to focus on dexterity weapons, finesse, again, and archery. So as a barbarian, and I made her wild magic just for that reason. I didn't feel like she would be doing, as many of the rages, or would be able to take advantage of it as much. And she could do throwing, right? Although throwing heavy things, of course, requires strength, but I mean, with the dexterity, she could use throwing weapons. Anyways, made sure her wisdom was up so she can see the traps, and then of course her dexterity's up so she can pick the locks. And as I said, with her being the archer, she's gonna start with these 2 skills. Alright, so that was the barbarian. The clerics, the healing is more than covered. In fact, the clerics were second to the bard in terms of the easiest to create a party of 4. There are so many options with the clerics. The hardest part was actually coming up with who's going to pick the locks. And I can't even remember who I ultimately chose here. I chose to just go with origin characters. So in this case, my main character is a gold dwarf cleric. I love having dwarven clerics. And I made him the war domain. So he's going to be my splat, my damage dealer. And he was a blast to play the prologue with. And then for Shadowheart,
Can't afford to stay idle.
thematically, I made her light domain. And then
Indolence breeds madness.
this is for the chat part. I didn't put a lot into charisma, but it's enough that she could at least, use her astral knowledge. And then I wanted her to be able to still use her her sword, which she can. So she'll be able to use her silver sword. And anyways, I kept Lysel, and I made her a life domain cleric. And that gives her the ability to use heavy armor.
What now?
And then I know there is a trickster domain cleric. I'm not a big fan of the trickster domain, so he's going to pick his locks or whatever, and he's going to do it as a Tempest cleric. The Tempest is just awesome. I actually love all 4 of these clerics that you see here. This is going to be a very, very fun one to try and play. I think 4 clerics is super powerful. Okay, moving on. 4 paladins. Actually, on the surface seems really boring. Because it's basically 4 of the same types with just a small variation in skills. But I actually had a lot of fun setting this one up too. I don't know how much fun it would be to play. I think it would actually be an easy playthrough. Because they have it all. And then with Astarion, they're going to be able to pick the locks. That was the only real issue. So here you can see for the Gold Dwarf, you know, we went with Oath of the Ancients, and then we have
My faith will guide me.
Shadowheart. I went with Oath of Devotion, and then with Astarion, you're going to see a focus on finesse weapons again. Same trick as always. I made him an Oath of Vengeance. I thought that thematically fit for him. And then also with the Oath of Vengeance, I thought there was a skill over here that was useful. Maybe not. And then I used Lysel, gave her some charisma focus, and of course another Oath of the Ancients, because I think both of them are great. And with that that little radiant, or this healing radiance, that's going to be really good. Okay, next up, 4 warlocks. This one is definitely going to be a challenge because of the low hit points. There's not a lot of tanking possible with this. So I started off with a Forest Gnome, Archfey Warlock, who, of course, is, I think this one is our, maybe it's our chatty? Let me check. I did. I focused on him being the chatty one. And so, I went with Pact of the Tome, so he would have the spells, and I just, you know, he's a little bit more utility. But with his, Eldritch Blast, he's going to do fine. Now, you could use Lysel for that, but I wanted Lysel to use her sword and still be able to use the two-handed sword, so I made her a Great Old One and gave her Pact of the Blade so she can use her charisma. And to be honest, you can make her your chatty one too. In fact, her charisma is higher than the other guy. So the Fiend, we just left Will just as he's made in the game, and I went Pact of the Blade with him. And then we have Astarion. I went with the Fiend as well. He even makes a deal with a Fiend in the game, not to spoil it for you. But anyways, and I went with Pact of the Chain for him. So this will be an interesting one. I think this one would be quite challenging in some fights. No shortage of spells though. I don't think picking Lux or chatting charisma is going to be an issue. For mages, this one was almost as much fun as the clerics to set up. There's so many options with mages. You do have the weakness of nobody's going to be tanking or, you know, able to do that, but I actually came up with a solution. So this first guy is our tank. He's the Abjuration Wizard. So he gets this arcane ward that blocks damage equal to its charges, and if we cast spells, it adds charges equal to the level of the spell. So if he has 3 charges, it blocks 3 damage. And there's no limit to the number of charges you can have. So if he's casting spells, he can increase his charges. Of course, every time he takes damage, the charges go down by 1. And so, Abjuration Wizard is highly recommended. I know I went with Gnome. I should have probably did thematically the Illusion Wizard, but Abjuration was what you needed here. So I went with that, and he is, of course, going to be our tanky type character. Then with Gale, I left him as thematically possible and went with Evocation. you always have the ability to be able to cast those AoE spells and not hurt your allies. I mean, it's a fantastic wizard class. Then with Lysel, this is for the chat options, so her charisma is a little bit higher. I went necromancy with her, and then she can at least heal herself with that. It's a fun, interesting option to go necromancy. And then of course we needed to pick locks, so we have Astarion here, dexterity and wisdom a little bit bumped higher, and I went with transmutation. Now, why transmutation? Well, transmutation wizards have this experimental alchemy skill that will brew 2 alchemical solutions instead of 1 when you make a potion. But he has to pass a DC 15 medicine check, and medicine is a wisdom check, and I think I gave him, right there. See, he has proficiency in medicine. I was going to say, boy, I really screwed up if I didn't do that. So he has proficiency in medicine, plus he gets a wisdom bonus. I didn't give him a lot, but I at least gave him something. And so we're hoping, you know, with the right rolls, he can double, and we just make double the healing potions, because they're going to need them. So that one looks like a very fun playthrough. 4 Rangers looks super powerful. They're not lacking in anything. They have the damage, they have the ability to... Well, the ability to chat would be the weakest thing, but you technically don't need it, but, you know, with the Lysel trick, we can get around it. And so I started with...
Looking ahead.
So I made the Gloomstalker, and I chose a Wood Elf. So Wood Elves start the game with Stealth and Perception as racial skills, and then you can choose, you know, the right background. And what background did I choose? I chose the Urchin, which was a little bit of overkill. I didn't need to do that because I already got the Stealth. So anyways, got the Sleight Hand, got the Stealth, and got Perception all in one character. And they made them the Gloomstalkers so they can focus on archery and just be, you know, your classic sneaky. Astarion just makes a great ranger, so we have him as well. And I also went archery with him. I'm gonna do 2 hand crossbows with him. And I went Beastmaster, because Beastmaster is very powerful in this game, in my opinion, having the extra help in the battles. Lysel, I gave the charisma bump, and she's going to be our chatty one, and I also made her a Beastmaster. And then we have
No time to rest.
our hunter. I went, oops. I went half orc, because I want to be able to just get critical strikes and do a lot of damage. And he's gonna do duel. And then we have last but not least, the druids. And we have the druids last. And once it loads. Alright, so I went a little fun with this one. So for the druids, I made a silver dragonborn. So we're focusing on cold spells. And I went with Circle of the Land, so we can get water-based spells. Although there wasn't really much options in the first one, but I went with Coast just to be thematic. And so, yeah, I got the Draconic Bloodline thing going, or Draconic Race going. And of course, this has been a very fun druid to be, and the breath spell, everything about this has been a very fun one to try so far.
Watch your
I made
back.
Astarion, Circle of the Spores. It just seemed to fit him, and so he's, you know, focusing on that. And of course, he's our lockpicker.
Charmed, I'm sure.
Gale, Circle of the Land, also doing that. We actually have him going, you know, full transformation. He's going to be replaced excuse me, once I unlock the druids that are origin characters in the game, like Halsin, we'll probably replace him with Halsin. So I'm at least building him to be like Halsin, and then I can swap him out later on if I need to. I just think Halsin would be more interesting. It's just you have to play substantially into Act 1 before you can get him. And then last but not least, our chatter, again with the charisma deal, and we have Lysel. And Lysel is possibly replaceable with Jaheira. I gotta figure that's much later in the game, so we'll figure that out as we go. Anyways, so there you go. There's your challenge. A single class challenge. Just doing this. Getting to this point where I've gone through all 12 classes and came up with a party of 4 to handle the healing, stealing, chatting, and splatting. It required actually a lot more thought than I originally imagined, and the game does have options to get you most of what you want, and the one thing I haven't focused on are the items in the game. And so I would love to hear in the comments about items in the game that will help overcome some of these deficiencies. For example, you know, the deficiency in healing for barbarians, or the deficiency in chatting, and you know, with the monks or whatever. There might be some great items out there that I'm not even aware of that'll help even more. So anyways, thanks for watching, and as always, be awesome and good luck with the challenge.